All right, we're in downtown Matthews today for our Matthews area tour. But before we get going, I need to go grab some coffee over at Brakeman's. And if you can do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe on YouTube. I'll be right back. So we're starting off in downtown Matthews. Right behind me is Trade Street, which is essentially the main street going through downtown Matthews. And one of my favorite things to do when I come down here is sit and hang out at Seaboard and have a glass of wine or a beer, go sit in front of the cigar shop, which is right next to Seaboard, and just watch the people driving by and walking by, or go get some coffee from Brakeman's and just be able to recharge for the day, whether it's first thing in the morning or in the mid-afternoon, which is when I really need coffee. The other thing that's awesome about downtown Matthews is the farmers market. People are obsessed with the Matthews farmers market. That, and also you have cool stores like Buffalo Jackson Trading Company, which is a local leather goods store, especially for like sportsman type activities. It kind of reminds me of Johnny Fly and OLPR, which honestly, all three of them are amazing local leather goods options here in Charlotte. So the first neighborhood I wanted to stop in today is called The Forest. It's a really cool neighborhood because it's very tight-knit. It's a pretty small community. Every house in here was built between 2004 and 2013. And as you can kind of tell, the average price in here is around $1 million, with the record high in here being 2.4 million, and the lowest price home in here was around 650. So there's a lot of variability even in this small community. Since this is a smaller community, there's only one home that's sold in the last 365 days. It's sold for about $276 per square foot, and it's around a 6,000 square foot home. So it's a big house. So obviously this is a super desirable neighborhood because of the large homes, large lots, the location and the proximity to places like the Arboretum. But the other thing that's a really big reason why people like living here is because of the schools that this neighborhood feeds into. So on the note with schools, if schools are super important to you, and obviously a lot of people they're very important for, I always say that the rule of thumb is that the closer to the school you are, the better chance you have of your kids going to that school and not getting changed to go to a different school. And so there's a couple different ways that I recommend looking up what schools you may be sending your kids to if you buy a house in a different area. One of them is a website called Great Schools, and the other is a website called School Digger. Third way and the safest way would be to call the individual school and say that you're purchasing a home at this address and you want to make sure that your kid will be attending that school when you move. We can drop the links below to those two websites, but I like both of those because they're good ways to make sure that your kids are going to go to the schools that you want them to go to. So lastly, I wanted to stop in the biggest neighborhood in the Matthews area, and might be the biggest neighborhood in all of Charlotte. It's called Providence Plantation. I think there's around 12,000 people that live in this neighborhood. I mean, this is bigger than some towns. But what's nice is the average or the median home value in here is $416,000, and you'll see there's a huge range when it comes to home values in here. So this neighborhood is so big. They have their own swim and racket club, which I think is really cool, especially as someone who grew up swimming and had a local swim team that I was a part of. It's neat to be able to just walk to the swim and racket club here in the neighborhood. That, and also in the last year, 110 homes have sold in this neighborhood, and they've ranged anywhere from 360,000 to almost 1.8 million. So you can see there's a huge variety of price points in here. So depending on what your budget is, you can likely find something in here. All right, so the last thing, actually last two things that I really like about this Providence Plantation neighborhood is one, the proximity to everything in town is fantastic. Because we're situated right between Providence Road and like Pineville Matthews Road, basically right on the other side of this neighborhood is the Arboretum, which is where there's tons of shopping, tons of retail. And so because the proximity is awesome, that's a huge reason that people like living in here. The other thing, the last thing, the true last thing that I love about this neighborhood is you can see like behind me, these lot sizes are huge. And when you drive through this neighborhood, you can just tell that these yards and the acreage here is just massive. So if you want to get a nice big house or a nice relatively average size house for this neighborhood, you can still find yourself on an acre, 2 acres, 3 acres. So no matter what size home or what budget you're looking for, there's a really good chance that you can find a house with a huge lot like this. And on that note, I will see you next week.